One of the perks of living down under in Australia is we occasionally get to try things early. People like to use us as a test bed for games. So we actually get to play the Diablo Immortal Closed Alpha, and I was one of the lucky people that got to be included. And I played a fair few hours on my phone, and it's actually not bad. Getting right into it, so graphically it's pretty decent considering it's running on a mobile. There are multiple graphic settings from high to low. I have to run it on low because I do have a pretty old phone. I only have a Pixel 3a, but in terms of its actual performance, it does run pretty well and it still looks pretty decent. Considering you are playing on a small screen, it's a bit like the Switch experience, how you're playing on, I think it's a 520p screen, the actual Switch, but you can't really tell because it is so close to your face and it is such a small screen, but it runs fine and it looks fine. You know, there's a little bit of aliasing issues, but I can't actually even play it on high because my phone doesn't support it. So that aliasing issue might be gone on the high or the ultra settings, but realistically, it's a mobile game. Does it really need to look that good as long as it is actually enjoyable? And from what I have played so far, it's actually pretty decent. The story is pretty blasé that, you know, I don't really play Diablo games for story, but there is a story here if that is something that you're interested in. The controls are pretty typical for a mobile game. The left side is an analog stick on a touch, and the right side has your abilities that you can use as well as your basic attack. And it feels fine to play in your hand. The controls feel smooth and feel good to use. The only thing that bothers me a little bit about the controls is that, you know, you do have a touch analog stick, and it is hard sometimes to avoid the, you know, the red or the fire, the bad stuff, because you are really moving slowly using a fake analog stick that doesn't exist. Sometimes getting that finer controls can be a little bit difficult, but the game isn't really that punishing from that aspect. And the combat is fun. You know, you get to spam your normal Diablo abilities. There is 5 classes in the alpha. I've mostly played as the Crusader, but for what it's worth, considering it is a mobile experience, I am enjoying the combat. There are plenty of bad guys to kill, do all of that normal Diablo stuff using my abilities and leveling up those abilities as you progress through the leveling system. The only annoying thing about the combat is once you get to a certain point and the world opens up, you do see other players, and if another player tags an enemy before you, they get credit for the kill and you can't get credit for that kill. So if there's a specific enemy that you need to kill, or if there's like a world boss or an elite that will drop better loot and they tag it before you, even if you go over there and help them kill it, you won't actually get any loot for that, which is kind of an archaic system. I would much rather they change that, in that as long as you tag the enemy, you get the loot yourself. So then, you know, it's a bit fairer, especially if you are traveling through the world doing quests and, you know, 2 people ahead of you have cleared all of the bad guys in front of you, and it's, well, you're not really getting any experience and it's kind of boring. So it'd be good if they at least added that extra feature to the game so that you could get some of that experience, even if it was a small amount compared to the person that tagged the enemy first. The gear and the leveling system is pretty typical for a Diablo experience. You know, as you kill things, you get gear. You can use that gear to increase your character's power level. Find different gear, keep increasing that power level and the amount of damage you do, your armor, as well as the other stats. There isn't a other kind of progression system. You don't put points directly into stats. It is all just based off your gear as well as your level. As you do level up, you will increase the skills that you do have. They will increase in level, dealing more damage as you do level up. There is a fair variety in the skills here. So I think I'm like level 22 or something, and I've got a fair amount of skills, not just 2 or 3 to use, so there is some variation that you do get for your character build. It is an interesting time when you do level up and you change gear and play around in the menus. The menus can be a little bit clunky, and I guess it's just because it is a touchscreen on your mobile phone, and if you're trying to show you a lot of information at once, which typically menus do, they can be a little bit confusing, but it is easy enough to understand once you get the hang of it. As you keep leveling up and completing the story, you do unlock different features, which is a really nice addition for something like this, where as you continue to level, you unlock slowly different things rather than getting everything all at once. So you will eventually be able to do public dungeons with other players. You can do this with 3 other players, 4 including yourself, and they're pretty quick. You know, they're only about 10 minutes long, more or less, depending on how good you are, and they are a fun experience to actually do something with other players, though I don't really communicate with them anyway. It was just, you know, you have to do it with players, so here we go. So if you do have friends that are going to play this game, you can play them together and group up and do something like that, though from what it seems like, I wouldn't be grouping up to do quests because whoever tags the enemy first does get the kill. However, that's different in those dungeons where everyone just gets the loot that is dropped. So the feature is there, they just need to implement it in the overworld, in my opinion. Though regardless, the loot does come in quick and hot. You get a lot of loot very quickly, especially when you start doing the dungeons. You will end up with more loot than you know what to do with. Luckily, you can salvage this gear and upgrade the pieces that you do like, so then you can keep progressing your character. And there is a lot of vendors in the game, typical to a Diablo game, really. You can salvage all the gear you don't want, you can upgrade the gear you do want. Because this is a free-to-play game, I think something that is on everyone's mind is the monetization. There is a store or a cash shop, and there is a battle pass progression system, as well as a paid version of that battle pass progression system that has both a free and a paid track. Now, the store itself, we'll talk about that first. I personally find it extremely confusing, and I have no idea what I am buying or selling. It does not make any sense to me. But what it basically is there is certain currencies that you can purchase on here and use that to spend on other things, like reforging your gear or purchasing rerolls on certain items, as well as purchasing tiers to the battle pass. So there will be a paid track separately that, from what I understand, will have to be bought separately, but you can purchase using those currencies some of the free track, and you get various things in that free track, like different cosmetics or different resources, as well as different gear if you do get to a certain point. There is also a daily reward that you do get for logging in every day and killing at least one enemy. But the system itself kind of is convoluted and doesn't make a lot of sense, and I think that is a negative from Blizzard's standpoint, because if they want people to spend money, it kind of makes sense that you can at least understand what is happening in the cash shop. It doesn't really get explained to you. You just one day get access to it and it's like, here you go, and it just has no explanation on it. It's just like numbers and gems that you can buy. It doesn't really make it clear. But once they really explain what it is, which I'm sure there'll be a tutorial that'll come, after the game has actually come out, it makes a little bit more sense, and people may actually choose to spend money on this. Now, there is a really interesting question here as to whether this is going to be pay to win or what it is really going to work out to be. And it seems to me, based on what I can tell, because it is going to be reforging items you've already got, and really just minor benefits to the player in that way, as well as the battle pass, which is, the battle pass probably seems more like a pay to win, but if you are putting that many hours into the game, we don't really know these items you get from the battle pass if it's going to be valuable enough to you. And if you are putting hours in the game and getting these items just as part of the free track of the battle pass, is that really pay to win? You didn't really pay for it, it's just you got it from playing the game. So I'm not sure how it's going to work, and I think it's too early to say whether this game is pay to win or not, or if it's just pay to maybe progress slightly faster. We'll just have to wait and see. Overall though, the experience in Diablo Immortal, at least what I have played, I've actually enjoyed. Like, it is a bit of a meme game at this point. Everyone thinks it's a meme, but it's actually not that bad, and Blizzard have done a good job of going dark and really working on this game, and then slowly starting to surface and getting people's opinions on the game and whether they think it's good or bad, and making adjustments as they work out the kinks. And I think this is a good approach, and I hope when it does launch that it turns out not to be a dumpster fire and a decent game, because there is a little bit of fun here. I've actually been picking it up even after I played a fair bit just to talk about it for this video. I've been picking it up occasionally and just playing 10 minutes, 5 minutes here and there, just doing a little bit of the main quest or just killing some enemies and then moving on with my day. And I think that's probably the best way to play this. It's nice to have a little mobile game in your pocket to play, and I don't play a lot of mobile games, so it's a good thing to have. If you're looking for more content, why not check out my Outriders review that went live earlier this week. Please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch, where I stream 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Australian night times. Hope to see you guys there in the next stream. Thank you for watching this video. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.